Welcome to Beyond Sci-Fi. If you love stories of courage, mystery, and the edge of the unknown, make sure to subscribe and join our growing crew among the stars. The bioluminescent moss pulsed beneath the cub's paws in rhythmic waves of cyan and violet, each leap sending ripples of light across the clearing. The smallest one barely larger than a Terran wolf pup, but already showing the distinctive spine ridges of a juvenile. Velari pounced on its sibling with uncoordinated enthusiasm, tumbling into a patch of glowing ferns that erupted in golden spores. Alpha watched from the shadow line, her 6 eyes tracking each movement with the calculating patience of a creature bred for dominance. Lieutenant Rho adjusted the thermal filter on his scope, whispering into the target designation, Echo 4 through Echo 7. Cubs in play behavior, adult supervision confirmed, while Dr. Kalen's fingers danced across her tablet 3 meters to his left, logging behavioral markers with the detached precision of someone who'd watched entire species rise and fall through a lens. The ridge above offered perfect concealment, jagged basalt formations that fractured sightlines into a maze of shadow and stone. Exactly the kind of terrain xenowatch teams trained for in the Mongolian wastes. Scout Vega pressed himself flatter against the rock face as one of the adult Velari designation, Echo 1. The beta male lifted his angular head toward the ridge, nostrils flaring to taste the wind. Movement freeze. Rho breathed, and the 3 humans became extensions of the stone itself, their camouflage suits bleeding into the background with adaptive pigmentation that would have seemed like magic 80 years ago. The beta's attention shifted back to the cubs, where the largest one had begun demonstrating something disturbingly purposeful, throat strike feint against an imaginary opponent, its movements echoing combat forms that Cathari battlevids had shown during the Proxima briefings. Kalen's tablet chirped softly, 3 ascending notes that made Rho's jaw tighten. Energy signature, she murmured, her voice carrying the controlled panic of someone reading data they'd hoped never to see. Subsurface, approximately 40 meters from the cub's position, resonating at Jesus, Rho, that's a Terran signature, pre-collapse era, probably military grade. Vega shifted his position, bringing up the ground-penetrating display on his wrist unit, and the ghostly outline materialized in augmented reality, angular, unmistakably human design, buried beneath decades of alien soil and festooned with Aliarian root systems that had grown through its chassis-like arterial networks. The cubs played on, oblivious, while their parents maintained perimeter watch with the instinctive discipline of apex predators who'd survived in a hostile galaxy by trusting their senses over their curiosity. The archive footage flickered across Rho's memory with unwelcome clarity, grainy combat recordings from the first contact collapse, when humanity had stumbled into Cathari space with diplomatic overtures and been answered with plasma fire that turned 3 colony ships into disbanding clouds of vapor and screaming. Alionine had been a supply depot then, hastily fortified, and just as hastily abandoned when the Accord pulled back to defensible positions, leaving behind everything they couldn't carry in the panicked retreat. Somewhere in those final chaotic hours, someone had buried weapons, tech, maybe entire arsenals beneath the jungle floor, gambling that humanity would return to reclaim them. They'd been wrong. The Cathari had glassed the main installations, but never fully colonized the moon, and the Velari native to a nearby system, allegedly neutral but increasingly Cathari-aligned, had moved in a generation later, making it their hunting grounds. The smallest cub stumbled during a particularly ambitious leap, landing directly atop the energy signature's epicenter. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the moss beneath its paws began pulsing in a different pattern, not the organic rhythm of Aliarian flora, but something geometric, deliberate, spreading outward in perfect hexagonal waves. The cub yipped in surprise, dancing backward while its siblings approached with that mixture of caution and fascination that marked young predators encountering novel stimuli. Alpha rose to her feet, 300 kilograms of muscle and calcified bone plates, moving toward her young with measured steps that made no sound despite her size. Designation Echo 1 approaching device location, Vega reported, his voice professionally flat despite the way his trigger finger had unconsciously moved to rest against his sidearm's grip. Recommend immediate extraction. Negative, Rho whispered, though his own instinct screamed the opposite. Mission parameters. Observe only. No engagement without confirmed hostile action. You know the protocol. Kalen's tablet had become a constellation of warning indicators. red and amber glyphs cascading across the screen as subsurface scans revealed the device's true extent. Not a single unit but a network, a web of interconnected systems spreading beneath the entire clearing like technological mycelium. Her hand trembled slightly as she routed the data to command, knowing the ping would take 18 minutes to reach the nearest relay, another 18 for orders to return, and by then the situation on the ground might have evolved past the point where orders mattered. The cubs had begun digging now, their claws tearing through luminescent moss with playful efficiency, excavating something that gleamed with the distinctive graphene ceramic composite of Terran military hardware. Through Rho's scope, magnified 20 times, we watched Alpha's nostrils flare as she scented the unearthed device, watched the way her spine ridges elevated in a threat display that had nothing to do with the cubs and everything to do with predator instinct, recognizing something fundamentally wrong in her territory. The Cathari had trained Velari shock troops during the Proxima campaign. Rho had seen the intel, watched the footage of Velari packs tearing through Accord defensive lines with coordinated precision that spoke of tactical downloads and neural enhancement. If this pack had been anywhere near Cathari space, if they'd undergone even basic modification, they might carry genetic memory of the collapse, might recognize human technology the way a wolf recognizes the scent of ancient prey. "Vega," he said quietly, "prep the Hornet, silent launch protocol." The drone sat in its camouflaged case like a sleeping wasp, its warhead sufficient to vaporize the device and everything within a 20-meter radius. Cubs, adults, evidence of human presence, all of it gone in a flash of superheated plasma that would look like a meteor strike to any orbital observers. Vega's hands moved through the activation sequence with practiced efficiency, while Kalen watched the energy readings spike higher, the device responding to proximity, to touch, to something in the Velari biology that resonated with its programming. 40 seconds to launch window, Vega reported. Guidance systems online, target lock achieved. The largest cub had stopped playing entirely now, standing rigid beside the device with its head cocked at an unnatural angle, and through the scope Rho could see the way its eyes had begun to reflect light differently, could see the geometric patterns that shouldn't exist in organic tissue spreading across its retinas like circuit pathways. The device sang a single crystalline note across frequencies that human ears couldn't process, but human instruments registered as a data burst. Compressed information erupting outward in all directions, and Kalen's tablet went dark as electromagnetic interference washed over the ridge. Alpha's lips pulled back from teeth, designed to shear through Cathari battleplate. Every adult Velari in the clearing suddenly focused on a threat they couldn't see but definitely sensed. 20 seconds, Vega counted, his finger hovering over the launch authorization. The smallest cub, the one who'd first triggered the cascade, turned its head slowly upward, scanning the ridge with methodical precision that belonged to a tactical suite rather than a juvenile predator. Its 6 eyes locked directly onto Rho's position despite the camouflage, despite the distance, despite every countermeasure that should have rendered him invisible. The cub opened its mouth and howled, not the playful yip of a youngling but a transmission, a signal, a beacon that echoed across the jungle with harmonics that made Rho's teeth ache. Every Velari in the clearing oriented toward the ridge simultaneously, their movement synchronized in a way that spoke of shared consciousness, networked awareness, exactly what the xenowatch protocols had warned might exist, but hoped never to encounter. "They're linked," Kalen breathed, her scientific detachment finally cracking. The device created a tactical network. They're seeing through augmented reality overlays. They know exactly. "Launch," Rho ordered. But Vega's hand had frozen over the control, his face illuminated by the tablet's glow, and the expression there was something beyond fear, something closer to awe. On every screen, on every sensor, the same message repeated in crisp Terran standard: authorization required, friendly forces detected, await identification. Alpha took one step forward, then another, moving toward the ridge with the patient certainty of something that had already won. Lieutenant Rho activated his emergency beacon, knowing extraction was 18 minutes away, knowing that 18 minutes might as well be 18 hours when the enemy, and he could no longer pretend they were anything else, understood human tech better than most humans did. The smallest cub tilted its head, studying them with ancient eyes, and somewhere in the jungle, more howls answered, a chorus that spoke of packs converging, of territories expanding, of cubs that played at war now preparing to wage it. Vega whispered into the 3 words that would echo through the Accord's strategic command for years to come. They are aware.